Hello guys, today I want to demonstrate how to master Mainstage slash big room EDM slash big room techno, all that kind of stuff, style of track. First of all, I want to mention that this is currently my mastering and mix bus chain. I change it all the time, but currently this is the chain that gives me the best results. First of all, I want to say that I route all the buses on a submix group and I make a little bit of processing there. I add sometimes a Saturn with the linear and the good or superb quality, 5 to 10% at maximum. This way I will start to give a little color to the entire mix bus, and sometimes I use the subtle, gentle, heavy saturation. You can try that. It depends on how heavy you want to process the track after the Saturn 2. This is a new addition, the mix box. Probably I could get away without using the SAT X module here because I have already added the Saturn, but in this particular case it sounded very good. Nothing too crazy, just a couple of 0.3 dBs there, 0.5 dBs here and there on the higher and the sub frequencies. This also gives a little bit of character on the entire mix bus. Last but not least, on the mix bus I clip the track a little bit on 5 to 6 decibels. This way it will hit the master bus a little bit not too hot, especially on the peaks. Let's hear what we have. You will hear the entire process, but you will also hear how these modules react to the signal. Just peaks here and there. This is very heavy processed track. This is a hard techno, or I don't know how to call it, style of track. Let's go to the master. I use the Paz analyzer for some metering. I also use the Paz during the production stage, but this will be for another video. First of all, I use the Pro Q4 to cut everything below 20 Hz on linear and low. I have seen a lot of videos that say that this low cut is useless. You can do whatever you want with this information. I like to use it. Let's go to the next module. I use the glue, an SSL type compressor to hit 4 dBs of compression. I use the makeup at 4 dB. For this example, I could push a little harder the threshold. I use the maximum attack available and the shorter release available. This is another new addition to my mix bus, to my master bus, excuse me. This is the space control from Hardwell. This plugin makes everything wider, but you need to be very careful because you always can go out of phase. I have pushed everything way too much, 200% on the high bands, 170% on the upper mids, 160 on the mids, and nothing on the low end, everything below 100 Hz. The trick here is the phase limiter, but this plugin is a tutorial on its own, so we will leave it for now. I use an OTT to push way too much on the multiband. I also push each band separately, 180% on the low, 164 on the mids, and 185 on the highs. You can get away with pushing it a little lower on the depth on 10, 15, 20%, but I really like how it glues and it pushes the track way too much. The OTT, it's very good for a free plugin. We continue with Ozone. Now here, I know I do a little bit too much on the master, but I need to remind everyone that I am aiming for a very dense and a very heavy kind of sound, if that makes sense, because I want the track to be full pushed and fully dense. The clarity on 30%, for some reason the bands go to 250 Hz, but we compensate that with the low end focus, just 1 dB of gain and 20% on contrast and punchy. I don't push that way too much because Later we have the stabilizer, which also reacts to the signal, makes some changes. So this is essentially, I don't remember the other plugin. It's called Gulfos EQ. It's a Gulfos EQ built in on Ozone, because it tries to use the entire spectrum, and at each second of the track you are hearing the maximum available spectrum, if that makes sense. This way your track essentially sounds fuller. Last on the chain, on the Ozone 11, I use a maximizer. I push 2 dBs with the output on minus 0.3. The character is on 1. I really like it because it reacts faster to the signal. I don't mess with any other thing here, because it starts to distort my track right up front. The transient emphasis, the upward, and the soft clip. I use stereo enhancer and fruity balance for a couple of automations, nothing special. And the final plugin on the chain is this invisible limiter, also 2 dBs and 0.3 minus 0.3 on the output. Sometimes I use the oversampling. In this particular case I didn't, because I think the CPU is starting to struggle. And the loudness meter, I aim for the minus 5 laughs integrated. I try to push as loud as I can without distorting, of course. After minus 4.5 I think it crashes, because we are in the digital world. That's probably the limitations of the plugins versus the analog, but currently I don't own any analog unit to push a little harder the final master. So I think this chain will change in the future, but currently I aim for very, very strong and dense sound, as you can hear also on the demo. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video.